I was born in Virginia, a little small town called Crozet, C-R-O-Z-E-T. My family was pretty much all from there. And then we moved to Washington, D.C. When I was about 10. I was stationed in Korea with UNCRA and United Nations Korea. And it was a medical group that I was with. And I was a secretary in the Army. I met a Russian. Her name was Irene, and she owned a restaurant. Everybody that was anybody went there. One evening, Josephine Baker showed up. She was then doing her world tour, and she said to Irene, I'm having a small problem with some of my clothes. They need some minor repairs. Do you know anyone that could do it? And Irene said, well, I know this, pardon, this sweet boy, and I could put you together here with him. He's very, very good. I met Josephine. I did the work for her, and she said to me, you know, you really ought to be in show business. I came back to the United States and got a job with Norman Norell sewing sequins on his gowns because they were all custom made for clients. There was not much happening in theater. I had done a couple of things. The most prestigious for me was Julius Monk at Plaza 9. Afterwards, I decided that I wanted to go to the Hollywood. So I moved out to California. I got a job in wardrobe at NBC, and fortunately for me, I happened to hook up with Bob Mackie and Ray Aguian, Ray was at that time doing the Judy Garland show. Ray was, and Bob was just starting out. I was a dresser, and I would take care of the major stars. And then one day, I got a call from a friend, Jerry McPhee, and he called me, and I was taking care of Jack Benny that night. And he said, Bill, I have a project, if you would be interested in it. We have a star coming over from England, and we're going to do a special with her. Would you like to do it? And I said, oh God, would I? You know, this is my chance, Jerry. And I said, who is it? And he said, it's Petula Clark. Downtown was, at that time, her big hit. I got wonderful reviews. And then a couple of months later, Steve Bender, who was director and producer, called and said, Bill, would you be interested in doing a special with Elvis Presley? And I said, of course, you know, it's my second big break. And so in 1968, that's how I became involved with Elvis. All the writers were there. Myself, Billy Goldenberg, Earl Brown, the two musicians, We were all there with Steve when Elvis came in. And I must say, I was totally taken aback, as most of us were. He was sensational looking. The movies that he had made just never did justice to him, because he really was a handsome guy. In the back of my mind, I always had this feeling that I had to protect his image. I just didn't want anybody to say anything about his masculinity, because at that time in Vegas was Liberace. That's why I stayed away from any rhinestones, any stones, anything like that. And it wasn't until we were so advanced into the wardrobe that the fans begun to demand more and more. And that's when I went to Elvis and I said, I want to start something new for you. That's when I knew that we were okay. And so I did the first outfit with the Stones, and it just went from there. Gene McAvoy had done the set for Elvis. I asked his wife, Kathy, if she would go with me to Vegas to see Elvis. And Elvis came out. Kathy leaned over to me and she said, Bill, that's got to be the sexiest man alive. It's like a Black Panther stalking a stage. You can feel the sexual heat coming from him. At which time a woman yanked off, pardon the expression, her panties and threw it on the stage. I couldn't go to Hawaii to take the Cape. So I called Nikki and I said, Nikki, you have to go. And so Joe made all the arrangements for him. Nikki got on the plane. There was a seat for the Cape and the seat for Nikki. And the stewardess looked down and walked by, came back, walked by, came back. Excuse me, is that Elvis's cape? Nikki said, yes. She said, could I touch it? And she touched it and went screaming down the aisle. Nikki said, I just touched Elvis's cape. Elvis's cape, I touched it. He said, Billy, it was worth the trip to see her running up and down the aisle screaming. I loved working with Elvis. He was great to dress.